hear you're ready for your dose of reality. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and we're on Volume 12 of Dear Independent Wrestling. This one's going to be a little bit shorter, but it's just as important. We're going to be talking both to wrestlers looking to move up and run their own shows, and promoters and bookers who are already running their own shows, some of the do's and don'ts to keep your talent happy.
That's right. And I want to tell you, I want to read this quote before I even go any further into this, because this came from Taz. Taz over here from ECW, the WWE, the WWF, and AEW right now. It says, if you are a pro wrestler and not being contracted by anyone, please do your best not to work for free for any of these independent promoters. Keep in mind, you have a skill and you are professional. Don't work for free. Train promoters on how to treat pro wrestlers. Hashtag you hold the power. And I want to say something on that, because he's got a point, but there's also more to it, because yes, you shouldn't be working for free all the time. Back in the days, we used to do what we called a tryout match. If a promoter contacted me or I contacted the promoter, I say, okay, I'm going to come work for you this show. I'm going to show you what I got. And then after that, we can work on a rate. But there's also a same token here. Do not come out there and think that you deserve to be paid $100 to $200 for a show if your work rate is only about $25 or less. Yes, the classic saying, the hot dog and handshake. Some of these guys, yes, you need to get better. Some of you guys are worth a hot dog and a handshake.
Yes, and what we're referring to on this here is, as you begin your wrestling career, within the first couple of years, most people don't have a name, don't have a reputation. So while you may have sent in a couple of tapes to the promoter, which, by the way, check that out about putting together a promotional package on our Dear Independent Wrestling number 3, I believe it was.
Yes.
But don't be afraid that first time to come in for that hot dog and a handshake and a t-shirt to show that promoter. What Taz is referring to in this here is for those of you guys that have been around 5, 6, 7 years, but you've never been working anywhere consistently for a long period of time, you have that skill. You deserve some recognition for the work you do. So don't always expect to go in the first show looking for a hot dog handshake. In your first year or two, yes, it's understandable and expected. And as Dr. Quack said, in your first year or two, unless the promoter wants to pay you more, $25, $50 is probably an appropriate payday.
It does happen. Believe me, independent pro wrestlers do not make a boatload of money. If you are really good, you might be making $500 to $1,000. It's possible. But there's also the thing with promoters here. Some promoters will go up there and they'll tell you, hey, I'm going to take care of a hotel for you for a couple days, and I'm going to pay you $250. And then you get there, and you're lucky if you got that hotel for one day, and you're lucky if you get a payday for $50. If you're going to go out there and promise somebody, promoters, that you're going to pay them, you better stick to that agreement. We work on a workman's handshake here,
which is the very reason we're doing this show. Now, Dr. Quack has been a promoter. I have been a booker. So we've been on the wrestling side of things as well as on the management side of things. And as Dr. Quack said first about that promoter, if you have promised something to a talent, don't get the reputation of being that person that either backs out or changes what they say. If you book somebody for 2 days and it's on the condition that it's going to be 4 people to a room, make sure you tell all 4 people that they're all going to be sharing one room. Make sure you're honest and upfront with your talent. Because if your talent doesn't want to come work for you because you're untrustworthy, your show doesn't survive.
Exactly. And yes, as a wrestler, we get tired of hearing this sentence. I'll get you on the next one.
Yes. Promoters, when you put together a wrestling show, we're just going to throw some random numbers out there. If you have a 7-match show and you have 16 people, you have 1 tag team match, that's 16 wrestlers. We're going to just say everybody made 100 for even round numbers. That's $1,600. Add in another $500 for various licenses, fees, advertising. Add another $300 in for the incidental costs, security and stuff like that. We're up to about $2,500. Promoter, if you're going to run a show, you better have that $2,500 in your pocket before ticket 1 is sold. You shouldn't hope you sell out to pay your talent. You should already have that money in advance. That's why you have sponsors and advertising.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, this is a big problem because this happens usually with rookie promoters. Do not rely on the gate. Do not rely on the gate because weather is a factor. Sometimes there are other festivals around. You can think, oh, I've got a show booked, and all of a sudden there's a big festival down the street. Or there's a big college baseball game down the street. That's going to affect ticket sales.
Yes, or here in Texas, high school football. If you feel like you could run on a Friday during high school football, you will lose. High school football will always trump you in the South. So when you think about that, you want to have that money already in your hand before ticket 1 is sold. In fact, you should even think 2 to 3 shows ahead. You should have enough for 2 to 3 shows because you want to plan for people to come back. And sometimes it takes more than 1 show to get that interest and word of mouth out there.
Exactly right. I mean, you got to be able to take care of your talent, but talent also as well, like I said, you can't be asking for more money than what a promotion is. I will tell you as a talent, you should always research the promotions you're going to work for. If it's a promoter that you know, that is a positive. If you don't know them, that could be a problem.
True, it could be. And if you feel you deserve more, make those gimmick things that you can sell at the gimmick stand or the merchandise stand. That's if you feel like you're a $100 worker, but the promoter says he can only pay you $50. Take that $50 because you're still getting out there. Maybe next time he'll pay you that $100 and sell your merchandise. You might make up the other $50. Guys who have names. Randy Hogan, a prime example. He's been out of the wrestling business for 25 years. He's still making money off his merchandise and his name because he's respected and reputable. It works both ways. Wrestlers, when a promoter says he's going to do something, you should expect it. But at the same time, promoter, if a worker says he's going to do something, you should also hold that worker accountable.
Very much true. And there's so much with this. I mean, promoters have a lot of responsibilities. They have to go make sure that everybody's taken care of. They have to make sure that the vendors are taken care of. It's a lot.
It is. So now that we've talked about that, we'll come back on that a little bit when we wrap it up. Next thing now is the bookers. And we're talking specifically to a booker who is not the promoter. Sometimes they're the same person. Most of the time they're not. So when we're talking about a booker, bookers, think about your entire show. You gotta piece together things that work together, matches that work together. So wrestlers, when you come into them, they may not hear your idea right away, but you should always have an idea. You never know when the booker might go, hey, what do you think about this? What's your feedback? You never know with it because a good booker will ask that question.
Very much. I mean, sometimes a booker's responsibility is not just to book the card. He usually has other responsibilities in there. So that would mean if you are an independent wrestler, you may not want to bum rush him as soon as he comes to the door. I'll tell you, as a promoter, I hated that. I hated when people came and bum rushed me instantly and were like, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, dude, give me a minute to settle in.
Which we did mention that when we talked about Dear Independent Wrestling 7, your job description. Leave the promoter and bookers to work those things. You can talk to them later on. But now, bookers, you want to make sure your talent is happy working for you. And one of the ways you do that is you don't book nepotism. You don't make yourself the champion, or you don't make your friends the champions. You should listen to the crowd, watch the talent, watch all the matches. I'm sorry, promoter, I'm sorry, booker, you have to watch your show. And you have to figure out who your best talent is and who's making the most waves in a positive way with the crowd. That's who you should be looking at to give pushes up the card. Not because you know them or because they work for free, give them the title. No, it should be the best talent.
I'm going to bring up another thing here that's kind of on my nerves. Reputation is a big thing, okay? I'm going to tell you, right now, if anybody who wrestled probably around the 2010 era and 2015 knows about this story. And I'm going to talk about Kansas Outlaw Wrestling, okay? This was about a guy who was a fan of wrestling. His brother was a backyard wrestling fan. And guess what happened? The guy that was a fan ended up winning a major sum of money. So his brother found out about it and said, hey, we should run a wrestling promotion. They had no clue on how to do it. And guess what happened? Eventually, they screwed a lot of people over. They ended up, screwing over the state of Kansas, not paying them their 5% and getting blackballed. You can get penalized in certain states if you do not pay the 5% to that state athletic commission. It's very important, promoters. You have to follow these rules. Otherwise, things get screwed up. And that reputation, it's funny. The night of that show happened literally within 24 hours. I was in Maryland at the time, and I got to hear about it all throughout the internet. This was not a great thing. This is why professional wrestling gets its reputation for not paying its wrestlers and not paying who it needs to be paid. Also, they decided not to pay the Special Olympics. If you make a promise to an agency or an organization like that, you better make sure you deliver.
Yes. And you should always consider those promoters doing a little bit of co-sponsorship, like Special Olympics, Boys and Girls Club, the Police Association, the Firemen's Association, because that gives you instant credibility. But as he said, you have to pay them back. They came to your show, give them what you promised them. If you can give them a tiny bit more for appreciation, do it. But now let's go on now back to the booking. Bookers, you should have a plan. You should have, as we've talked about before, you should have 5, 6, 7 shows already written. And as long as there's no changes, you shouldn't look like you don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't look like you wrote the show 20 minutes before the curtain opened. Because wrestlers also don't like to show up and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what the plan is. They don't know what direction they're supposed to go in. Because they may have a different plan than you and they may have talked about it and you told them, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And then they show up and you changed your mind but didn't tell them. They're not going to show up. And again, promoter, if your booker is not making people promises and wrestlers don't want to show up, you again are out of business.
That booker, promoter, wrestler relationship, it's a big thing. And if you're a wrestler and you get booked, you should definitely show. Unless it's a state of emergency or there's something serious, a death in the family. Wrestlers, that gives you no excuse. You need to show up to these shows.
And booker, don't change your mind and they show up and go, well, we were going to have you in a match, but we changed our mind, so we're going to have you do a run-in and a battle royal. No. If they showed up, and keep to your plan. If an emergency happens, like you said, a death in the family and the other guy doesn't show, that other wrestler still deserves something. You can make a triple threat. You can turn something into a tag team match. Make sure they get in, especially if some people are driving 3 hours, 4 hours to a wrestling show. Make sure they get respected. It goes both ways.
And most of the time, we're talking about the promoters who are running, at least once a week, 2 to 3 times a month, We're talking these kind of promoters, not the fly-by-night promoters who come in when it's tax time and they put a big show out there once and then they leave for about 6 months. That's called almost a convention show, which is fine. You may be able to make your money back very well, but you're not running storylines.
Correct. And the last thing we want to talk about now, promoter and booker, is you want to push local talent. You shouldn't rely on making your show marketable and profitable by bringing in national names all the time. They're very expensive. People will get tired of it, and you can't, again, always guarantee on making it back in the house. You should work on local talent, building up local talent. They're cheaper for one. Two, a lot of times they're better workers because the talent you're able to bring in that have a national name are past their prime and over the hill. So think about that. You can bring in a big name from time to time to give your champion a rub or to give your tag team a rub. But it shouldn't be every show. Hey, I'm bringing in this guy this show and then this guy the next show. It doesn't always work.
Exactly. And if you're going to bring in a big name, you want to know what its worth is. Okay? Because if you bring in Wrestler A, who is a big name, but he's mainly seen in the Northeast, and you are a promoter in the Northeast, are you going to bring him in and expect to draw a lot of money? No, because a lot of times he has been to every other promotion in that territory, and he's not going to make you much money. If you're a promoter down south and you bring that wrestler from Northeast who doesn't come down there all the time, that draws more attention. You have to know where wrestlers mainly reside when it comes for signings, when it comes to work. When you're bringing in a high impact talent, that's what you got to know.
That's right. And promoters, if you're new to it and you haven't booked a big name talent, most big name talents have somebody you contact, an agent. You have to consider as you're figuring out the price. When that wrestler, we're going to use, we'll use Randy Hogan because he's a good friend of our show here. Mm-hmm. And these are made up numbers. We do not know if these are real. I'm just using these as examples. If you call Randy Hogan and you want to bring him in for an autograph signing, he's going to say 250 plus incidentals. That incidentals is a hotel room for the entire time he's there. That's his plane ticket to and from the show. If you need to pick him up, like we live here in Houston, it's a local drive. But if you're running a show out 50 miles out, you also have to consider the cost for somebody to go pick him up. All those things are taken into consideration. So you have to look at that. Make sure you understand what incidental costs are if you bring in a big name.
Yeah, and a big thing you need to realize too, and this is something that, rookie promoters, I've learned, made this mistake. Veteran promoters know better, okay? And that is, if you're bringing in a guy that is under contract with the WWE, okay, that is a big thing you have to consider, okay? Or AEW for that matter. Either one does not matter. Because if that promoter, Vince or Tony Khan, goes, hey, you know what, I need this guy here at this show here at this time, and it's the same day and time as your show, you can get screwed over because guess what? You do not take precedence. Handshake is nice, but contract means more.
Yes, it does. So the last thing when you're thinking about these kind of things, you want to try and focus on your show making money. It's okay, young promoters and old promoters. You guys should talk to each other and help each other along. Now, young promoters and even to old promoters, don't step into each other's yards. Understand lines and boundaries because that gets you just as bad a reputation if you know that promoter A runs in this town, in this area. Don't run a show in his area because then you're both are cutting your own throats. But young promoters, old promoters, talk to each other. Because there's nothing wrong with helping each other along as long as you guys respect those lines of boundaries. So don't be afraid to reach out if you have a question. Just don't screw each other over.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say last on this is if you know an area that you're going to run a wrestling promotion in has been drained, has been run into the ground by bad promoters, don't be afraid to plant that seed. Yes, it's going to be a difficult road. It's no doubt there because you're following the past. Like, oh, these are crap promotions. These are backyard wrestlers that fans will say, because they're the ones with the real important opinions there. Because if you keep planting them seeds, eventually something will grow. That is what you have to do. Because if you plant 10 seeds in the same spot in a great area, guess what? Probably 6 or 7 of you are going to be knocked out, and you're going to be back out of the wrestling business.
Yep, and so I think that's a big topic. It's an important topic. So wrestlers, if you're looking to become a booker or a promoter, ask those questions to what did they learn? What did they learn to not do? We talked about a few things. Being responsible, being dependable, making your word mean something. That goes both ways. Wrestlers, your word should mean something to promoters and bookers. Bookers and promoters, your word should mean something to the wrestlers. It's all about communication. That's the thing everybody seems to lose. Communication should be honest communication. Everybody will do better when we all learn to talk to each other again. Let's make 2021 even better.
That's right, folks. Well, that's our show. Our next episode will be on agents and handlers. We're going to be talking about convention guys. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, saying thanks for following us on this road. We'll see you the next time on Dear Independent Wrestling.
And I'm out.